So usually this YouTube channel has just been originally yoga classes. I get a lot of questions on my Instagram account about how I deal with things, how yoga has helped me, and the main thing for me is that it changed my life completely mentally, and it helped me deal with a lot of things, hard things that happen in my life. And in sharing that on social media and in a previous podcast that I did with Molly Parsons, a lot of people have messaged me asking about how to deal with a breakup. So I'm a pretty honest and very open person, sometimes too open. So with respect to previous relationships I've been in, I'm gonna stick to no names or leave out any details, but this isn't really about like what happened or how the breakup went or how the relationship was. It's really what happened afterwards and how I was able to deal with it. So basically, a lot of people have asked, how do I deal with a breakup? How do I find myself again? And I wish I could, if I could, I would show you how lost I was after my last breakup. It happened about 4 years ago now, and it took me over a year to in any way move away from the attachment I had to that relationship. It took me even longer than a year, maybe even 2 years, to fully let go. So I would like to really emphasize how sad I was. So in all relationships I've ever been in, I've loved very deeply, and often I've actually lost myself a lot in those relationships. I went from one relationship from when I was 19 to 21 and straight into this next relationship. So I had very little time as a teenager and as somebody in my 20s to grow as a person, and often attached all of what I knew about myself to this other person. It made me really happy, but then when it didn't work out, I was broken. I was completely lost. I had no idea how to cope on my own. I had no idea how to socialize on my own. I was scared of socializing because I was afraid that I wasn't enough. I was so used to having that other person with me. So basically when it ended, when I say I was depressed, it's probably an understatement. I remember one time going to bed, I slept with my mum for I don't know how many months. I remember going to bed and telling her I did not want to wake up the next day. I just would rather go to sleep and never wake up, because I just didn't want to have to deal with the pain. The first thing that you hear always is that this is not going to last forever. You know, you'll get over it, you'll move on, and it was the last thing I wanted to hear. But I wish I could talk to myself back then. I attached myself to the pain that I was feeling because I didn't want to let go, and I attached myself for a really long time to that pain. So that's why it took me so long to let go, because I was much happier, I thought, in feeling the pain and continuously talking about the pain and giving it life, basically, because I knew that once I stopped talking about it, once I stopped creating that pain and suffering, that I would start to let go, and I didn't want to let go. In talking about truth and those negative stories that you tell other people and those stories that you tell yourself, you can also create a reality, a negative reality. Obviously negative attracts negative, but you can actually, like, the power of your words are extremely strong. If you start to say, like, to your friends, oh, so and so, my ex is being an asshole, he's hurting me, he's moved on, he's seeing somebody else. Even if none of these things are true, but you are talking about them, you can give something life with just your words. So it's something else to be really careful about, or to be careful doing, and just be really mindful of the kind of the words you put energy into. And the more you talk about something that maybe isn't true but you're scared that it is true, the more it's likely to actually happen. And from experience, I know this to be true, so just take my word for it. Please try to speak positively, give energy into things you want to happen, and for yourself. I started CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, with this amazing woman, and there was one thing that I really found that she helped me with. Obviously, when there's a breakup, there's two sides to every story, and at the time I could only really see my side. There was a lot of pain caused on both sides, and I couldn't understand certain things that the other person had done or was doing. And I think it's very easy to place expectation on somebody else. It's something that I've learned and been able to relate to all my relationships. If you have a pain, it's going to be far worse if you expect the other person to act in a certain way. So every time I wanted that person to forgive or forget or love me the way I wanted that person to love me, I was resisting what actually was. So that other person felt a certain way. That other person had their own morals, their own way of seeing things, their own agenda or way of moving forward. And that was their right, and they were completely right in doing that. But for me, when I started expecting that other person to act in a certain way, I was continuously being disappointed. And I kept going to my CBT or my therapist saying, you know, this person is hurting me. And she reminded me that that hurt is not from their actions, but from how I was thinking and how I was expecting the person to act. So it's something that really has stuck with me, that pain and hurt does not come from what other people do. It's from how you expect them to act and to live their life, and how you expect them to treat you. That's not to say you should let somebody walk all over you. You don't have to accept how somebody treats you. You can move away from that person. I think that was a huge help in letting go of a lot of the pain that I was feeling. And then again, recognizing that the pain that I was feeling was how I was part of how I was thinking. So if I could change how I thought, then I tried to believe that then I could let go of the pain. It took me a really long time, and it's definitely, when we have a habit and a certain way of thinking, it's really hard to get out of that habit. Another question is that some people have been asking, how do I start dating again? Terrifying. So again, I knew that once you started dating, that meant that you were moving on, that you were letting go. Try not to think about it like that. Try and let it be as a part of your journey of just finding yourself again. It doesn't have to be about letting the other person go. I always thought that in part of letting the other person go, I used to say everything happens for a reason. So if we're meant to be together, we will come back to each other. It's a good way of just easing your way out of it. It's not a lie. It's not disguising the truth. I fully believe that everything does happen for a reason, and who knows, you know, what will happen. You could get back together, but you might not. You might realize that in a few years it just wasn't for you. So try not to think really harshly in letting the person go, okay? Think about finding yourself and being true to yourself. This is your time to find your path. So I went on only 2 dates. One of my best friends at the time set me up with his friend, and it was terrifying I enjoyed myself. He was the nicest guy, really hot, but I found it really hard just being able to relax and be myself, but I was proud of myself for simply just going on the date, and I think that's a huge step. Go on the date, it's not about forever, and I think when you come out of a really long-term relationship, it's really hard to get used to not thinking of forever, but I think it's just important to start. I'm a relationship person, so I was really keen on finding somebody to be in a relationship with. I went on Bumble. It had been over a year, maybe nearly a year and a half since, no, a year since the breakup, and my friends were like, look Molly, like it's time for you to really start dating. You need to get yourself on a dating app, go on a few more dates. I'd only been on one. Downloaded the Bumble app, they told me what to do. I started swiping, and basically one of the first people that came up was the guy I knew, and I was like, great, something familiar. I don't have to be delving into something completely new. I found it really hard to have to introduce myself every time and almost sell myself. It was a pain in the bum. Anyway, so this person I knew, which was great. I actually had really fancied him when I was younger. Ended up going on a date. It didn't come like really quickly. It wasn't like love at first sight, but I still was finding it really hard. So I want to stress again that it's not easy falling in love again. I found it really hard. I almost just wanted to fall in love. I wasn't honest with myself, and it took me a really long time. It took me until I was again losing myself and realized that I was doing a lot of things for the other person. I was acting in certain ways for the other person, and I think it's just because I was really used to doing that, and I was scared again about being myself. I think after a breakup you're quite vulnerable. You're not very confident in yourself. You feel a little bit unworthy of being loved. So I think I was trying to act in a certain way, or maybe in a different way, so that my new boyfriend Connor would love me. It sounds pathetic, I know, but anyway, it actually ended up that I ended things with Connor for only a few weeks, but literally it gave me the time to really reassess and to think, is this worth it? Am I really being myself? I need to really be honest with myself and with Connor, and to let him know exactly who I am and what I want. And as soon as I was honest, as soon as I started communicating what I wanted, thank God he still loved me, and he still loved the person that I actually was, and deep down. Yeah, I think being honest with yourself, again, comparing how you feel when you're comfortable with your friends, when you're with your family, when you're experiencing true joy. Is that what you're feeling in this new relationship, in this new hobby, in this new way of thinking, creating those healthy relationships, healthy habits? So I'd like to finish with just 3 points. One point is that I would like you to trust the process. So know that it is going to feel hard, it is going to feel shit, but that everything worth having you have to work for. So it's like anything with life or in life, like in your yoga practice, if there's a pose you're working on, you have to practice until one day it's going to click. It's similar to a breakup. You have to practice positive thinking, you have to practice non-attachment, step by step, moving forward to this new journey that you're on. It's a really exciting journey. It's not easy, but there is a process, and I promise one day it will click. Slowly you'll begin to think of the person less. Slowly you'll begin to think of yourself more and experience what makes you happy on your own more, and then you'll be able to share that with somebody else. Another thing is that you will meet somebody else once you have that love for yourself. So you need to be able to love yourself. You need to be able to know yourself in and out, before you can give yourself to anybody else. And I think that's really important. I think there's so much to learn from a breakup. What worked, what didn't, remember the good times and learn from the bad times. That's the biggest thing about a breakup, that behind pain there's always something to learn. Again, just like in your yoga practice, with discomfort comes growth, and there's things to learn. So listen, try not to disguise things with bad eating habits or negative thinking or gossiping. Speak the truth and remember the truth. The truth is the most important thing. If you can speak the truth to yourself, to your ex, to your new boyfriend, that's where you're going to start a positive journey forward. And the final thing is that everything happens for a reason. So I think it's one of the biggest things I took out of my relationship, that I met that person for a reason. He gave me a lot of love, a lot of laughter, a lot of happiness. I hope I gave him the same thing. And in that relationship there was a lot of things that we didn't do right for each other, that we loved each other too much maybe, and sometimes it's more important to love yourself. And I think I definitely learned that from that relationship. It's one of the things that got me through the breakup. If we're meant to be, we get back together. We weren't meant to be, and I've met somebody else, and I'm very happy in myself and in that relationship. I've created possibly the healthiest relationship I've ever witnessed. We respect each other, we communicate, and we are on our own journey, and we support each other's journey 100%. One more question that somebody asked on a side note is, how do you let go of losing a female friend? And I think that is such an important question, such a massive thing in our lives as women. When you lose a friend, I don't think there's such thing as losing a friend. I think that people go through phases in their lives. I think there are highs and lows to any relationship. I think there are people that you need in certain times in your life. So for an example, I think you've all heard of my friend Domino Whisker. She came into my life when I was 12. I thought she was the coolest, most badass ghetto girl from LA, and I just had never met anyone like her. She was so unique, so different, so creative. And we shared just love of art, clothes, music, being freaks. And we were best friends for like 3 years, lived in each other's pockets, didn't need anybody else. And then as we grew up in school, in secondary school, we drifted apart a little bit, just because I became friends with other girls. They weren't really, you know, they didn't blend as well with Domino as I blended with them. And we went through, so we kind of drifted apart, not in a negative way or fight or anything, but we just weren't as close or didn't spend as much time with each other. We didn't force it, we still loved each other. And she then started her job in Tower Records and had her own friends. I had my friends. We just didn't cross socially, our paths didn't cross. Then she moved to the States and I moved to New York. Again, we didn't see each other. And then when I moved back from America, she moved back exactly the same time to look after her dad, who had Alzheimer's. And we bumped into each other on the street one day. I had just broken up with my ex. She had just visited her dad in hospital. And we held each other, we cried, and she came back into my life. And ever since, we have just been, you know, our relationship has picked back up. It never went away, but we let it flow with our life. So your life is going to bring you in different directions to your friends. Try not to force it. Try not to be negative or think that person has let me go or let me down, unless they've done something really bad. But try just to go with the flow. Again, everything happens for a reason. That person is going to come back to you if your paths are meant to cross again, and it'll be when the universe is kind and is bringing that person back into your life when you need it the most. So I think that's my advice on losing a friend. Don't look at it like that. Just try to let the person go. Maybe send them a message now and then just to say thinking of you, checking in, and leave it at that. Don't try to meet for coffee, or it'll happen. Yeah, so I hope that in these points that I've made, that I've helped you in figuring out how to get through your breakup. If there's anything else that you feel like I've left out, I can do a round 2 or answer questions on my Instagram. Please do go to my Instagram. I'm always there to chat. Yeah, so I'm gonna finish with a little bit of a guided meditation. It's just going to be something that you can come back to if you're feeling pain, if you're feeling sad or down. This is a meditation that is going to bring you joy, I hope, and it's going to allow you to let go of anything that isn't serving you right now. So we're going to start our meditation. I'd like you to find just a comfortable seat, and we're going to watch our breath. So just closing your eyes, sitting up nice and tall, and I'd like you to just start to watch your breath in and out through the nose. Steady pace, breathing into your belly, into your lung space. Listening to the sound of your breath. I'm going to get you to create a chalice cup mudra with your hands. A mudra is a position with your hands. So if you want to look here, I'm going to bring my pinky fingers together and my thumbs together, and the rest of the fingers will come out wide. So it's creating almost like a lotus cup or a chalice cup, a lotus flower, sorry. And you're going to hold that just in front of your chest. So into that cup, we are going to offer this cup up in front of us. So I'd like you to lift your hands just in front of your face, and I'd like you to draw in anything that you would like to bring into your life, whether that is peace, joy, love, acceptance, and then bringing your thumbs back to your heart, accepting those things that you have cultivated. And then I'd like you to bring your fingers down by the earth, by your hips, and just flutter your fingers on the earth, letting go of anything that doesn't serve you. Whether that's jealousy, attachment, negativity, pain. Bring your hands back to the heart one more time. Thumbs together, pinky fingers together. Offer your cup up, and again, know that you are worth bringing joy into your life. You are worth love, laughter. Bring those positive intentions into your heart, accept them, and then bringing your fingers to the earth again by your hips. Flutter your fingers. Let go of anything that isn't serving you at this time. Feel the earth take it away. Feel lighter. Bring the hands back to prayer at the heart. Bowing your chin toward your chest. Inhaling into your heart. Connecting with your breath, with yourself, with your truth. Thumbs to the brow, bow the head. Namaste. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that it's helped you. I hope that meditation was able to clear you of any negativity that you may be attaching yourself to. I'd like you to know that I'm here to any time to chat. If you ever have any questions about a breakup or finding yourself, I would love to talk to you about it. So always feel free to message me on Instagram. And I'll chat to you next week.